The wind howled across the barren plains the night before Thanksgiving as the dim lights of Willow Creek Orphanage flickered under the weight of the storm. Inside, the children huddled together in the common room, blankets wrapped around their shoulders, eyes filled with questions their caretaker, Miss Elara Grayson, could not answer. She stood in the doorway, watching their small faces glow faintly under the dull lanterns. Her heart aching with a helplessness she struggled to hide. The pantry was empty, completely and utterly empty. Not a can, not a loaf, not even a lonely potato remained. And Thanksgiving was only hours away. Elara had written letters, pleaded with townsfolk, and traveled dusty miles to beg for donations. But the drought had hit everyone hard this year. Farms had withered. Livestock had grown thin. Families were barely feeding themselves. The orphanage was not on anyone's priority list, no matter how much goodwill they held in their hearts. Miss Elara, whispered little June, tugging on her skirt. Are we still going to have Thanksgiving tomorrow? Elara forced a smile so gentle it nearly broke her own heart. Of course, darling. We will always have Thanksgiving as long as we have each other. But when June skipped back to the group, Elara's eyes dimmed. She stepped quietly into the hallway where the shadows swallowed her smile whole. She leaned against the cold wooden wall, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Please, just something, anything." The hours dragged on, long and heavy. The storm outside thrashed against the windows, rattling them like angry bones. Elara made the children warm herbal tea week, but comforting it, tucked them into bed. When she finally went to her own small room, exhaustion pulled her under quickly, though her heart remained restless. In the darkness, before dawn, a sound stirred her awake. Hoofbeats, slow, steady, purposeful. She sat up sharply, listening. The storm had quieted to a soft drizzle, but hoofbeats at this hour, on this lonely stretch of land. Grabbing her shawl, she hurried downstairs, careful not to wake the children, and stepped out onto the porch. A single lantern hung by the door, its light barely enough to pierce the fog rolling across the plains. But there, moving through the mist, was a horse pulling what looked like a wagon. The figure riding it wore a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat, casting his face in shadows. Elara felt a flicker of unease, but something in his slow, respectful pace eased her fear. He stopped the wagon in front of the orphanage, climbed down, and tipped his hat. "Morning, ma'am," he said, his voice deep and calm, carrying a warmth that reached her even through the cold air. "Morning," she replied, wary but polite. "Can I help you?" "I reckon I'm here for the opposite," he said, stepping aside and nodding toward the wagon. Elara squinted in, her breath caught in her throat. The wagon was full, absolutely full. Bags of flour, sacks of potatoes, carrots, onions, jars of preserves, freshly butchered turkey, loaves of bread wrapped in cloth, even Pie's pumpkin, apple, be carefully tied with twine. "I heard tell the orphanage might be needing a proper Thanksgiving," the stranger said softly. "Figured this might do." Lara's knees nearly buckled. "Sir, I don't know what to say. How to." She stepped closer, her hands trembling as she touched one of the sacks, half expecting it to vanish like a dream. "Who are you?" The man hesitated. "Just someone who knows what it's like to go without," with something guarded in his tone, something weighed down by a sorrow he didn't name. But Elara sensed truth in it, the kind born of hard years and deep loss. "Please," she said earnestly, "at least tell me your name so I know who to thank." He gave a small smile sat around the edges. "Name's Colt Rayner." "Ma'am?" The name meant nothing to her, yet it echoed with the gravity of a man who carried years behind it. "Colt," she whispered, overwhelmed. "This will feed the children for weeks. I don't know how to repay you." "Don't reckon you need to," he murmured. "Just see that those little ones have a good meal tomorrow. That'll be enough for me." Before she could respond, the door behind her creaked and several sleepy-eyed children peeked out. When they saw the overflowing wagon, Their confusion melted into wide-eyed wonder. "Miss Ilara, is that food?" Ilara's smile trembled with emotion. "Yes, sweethearts. It's food," the children cheered, their voices filling the cold morning with warmth that felt like sunlight. Colt watched them quietly, a flicker of softness passing through his otherwise rugged expression. June, the smallest, ran up and stared at him with big, curious eyes. "Mister, are you an angel?" Colt crouched down, his smile widening. "No, little miss. Just a man with a wagon and a horse." The girl giggled and threw her arms around him before Ilara could stop her. Colt froze surprised, but after a moment, he gently patted her back. Something unspoken passed across his face, something tender and painful all at once. Ilara noticed. There was history there, a wound, or maybe a memory. As the children excitedly inspected the wagon, Ilara stepped closer. "Colt, stay please. Share Thanksgiving with us." He stood slowly, pulling his coat tighter against the wind. "I appreciate it truly, but I've got miles to ride, okay? But you've done so much, and you'll do more." His eyes softened on her. These young'uns got someone good looking out for them. Breath caught at the sincerity in his voice. She felt seen, unexpectedly seen. The children begged him to stay, tugging at his coat, pleading with bright, hopeful faces. Colt's jaw tightened subtly. "I'm sorry," he said, voice low. "I can't." Lara sensed the finality in his tone. He mounted his horse, tipped his hat to her, and with one last look at the children, turned toward the mist. The wagon left behind, every last bit of it. "Colt," she called after him. "Why are you doing this?" He paused, but did not turn around. "Because once, someone did it for me." And then he rode off into the fading fog. Thanksgiving morning burst with laughter, warmth, and smells the children had not experienced in months. Ilara cooked from sunrise to noon, refusing to waste even a pinch. The children helped, setting the long wooden table with mismatched plates and cups, making decorations from colored paper scraps, and singing off-key songs they invented on the spot. When the feast was served steaming turkey, buttery potatoes, thick gravy, warm bread, and sweet pies, their joy filled every corner of the orphanage. Yet, even in the middle of the laughter, Ilara found her thoughts drifting to Colt Raynor. Who was he? Why had he helped? And why had he looked at the children with such aching tenderness, as though their joy reminded him of something or someone he'd lost? Days passed, then weeks. Ilara asked around town. No one knew Colt Raynor. No ranch, no homestead, no family by that name. It was as if he'd appeared out of the fog and melted back into it. Winter deepened. Christmas came and went. The pantry remained stocked longer than she imagined possible. Colt's gift, providing nourishment, not just to the children's bodies, but their spirits. One snowy morning in late January, a letter arrived, folded carefully. No signature, no return address. Inside was a single sentence in a firm hand. "Thank you for letting me feel at home again, even just for a moment." Ilara pressed the letter to her chest, understanding, washing over her like a warm tide. Colt Raynor had once been a child, like hers, lost, hungry, forgotten by the world. And someone, somewhere, had shown him kindness that saved him. He had simply passed that kindness forward. Every Thanksgiving, after that, Ilara told the story of the mysterious rancher who brought a wagon full of love to an empty orphanage on a stormy night. And though Colt never returned, the children always set an extra plate, just in case, because sometimes angels don't need wings. Sometimes they ride horses through the fog, carrying love in a simple wooden wagon.